Asato ma sadgamaya tamaso ma jyotirgamaya mrityurma amritam gamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om, lead us from the unreal to the real, lead us from darkness unto light, lead us from death to immortality. Om, peace, peace, peace. Namaste and good morning, everybody. I chose this subject this morning. I think it is The Infinite Alone Remains. This, some of you might have already guessed, is from the Purnamadah Purnamidam mantra. Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. It's one of the Shanti mantras. I remember the first time I came across it, I was a kid around Konish's age. So, and in the monastery in Bhubaneswar, I was to climb up to the temple, which was on the um, upper floor. And I had this strong memory of stone steps climbing up to a room, which was a bare room, small room. And on a wooden board, this mantra was inscribed. So I used to study a little bit of Sanskrit at school, so I could read the mantra. Not that I really understood much of it. It was written, and I would somehow that pulled me. I stood there. Every time I would go up to the temple, I would look at it, and I would stand and look at it, and there was this utter silence in that room. I still have the memory of the cold stone floor beneath my feet, and the room was sun drenched. Nobody there, nothing else there. That room was not really used. It's just as an ante-room to entrance towards the rooftop temple. Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. What does that mean? That is infinite. This is infinite. From that infinite, this infinite has come. And in this infinite, if we recognize the infinity within, infinity alone remains. That's where this title comes from. Infinity alone remains. And I didn't really understand the philosophy behind it, but it pulled me. Maybe some scar of past lives or whatever, some kind of attachment to it. I found it very inspiring. Later, of course, I learned much more about it when I started studying, and later I became a monk and all that. I've told this tale a few times, and it has some unintended consequences. I got a call from the monastery a few years back, and some monk called me and said, so how are you? Is it day in New York or what is it? And look, what did you tell people? People are here asking about that room, and Swami Sarvapriyananda said there's the room with the mantra. We want to see that room. I want to clarify, if you land up there, you're going to be disappointed because the roof has long since been remodeled and there's a much bigger temple on top, which has engulfed where that room originally was. The roof has been completely remodeled now. Just yesterday, I got a message that um, somebody in India, out of an impulse, I've jumped on the train. I'm going straight to that monastery you said. I'm going to look at that room. I thought, oh no, I'd better clarify it in some talk. So this is going to keep happening. It's not important. Neither room is important nor that place. But what is important is the mantra itself, is the teaching itself, which we will focus on this morning. It is from a Shanti mantra, and it is attached to what is called the Shukla Yajur Veda. So each of the Vedas has its own Shanti mantra, and the Shukla Yajur Veda has this Shanti mantra, Purnamadah Purnamidam. That is infinite, this is infinite. And so the Upanishads which come from this Veda, they will always have this Shanti mantra, this peace invocation. The Isha Upanishad, we have studied it here. That you remember, we always started the classes with Purnamadah Purnamidam. That is infinite, this is infinite. We are studying a little bit of the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad now. And this is also from the same Veda. That's why it starts with Purnamadah Purnamidam. In fact, in the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, which is the largest of the Upanishads, This mantra comes as a part of the Upanishad. In the 5th chapter, the first mantra there is 5.1 is Purnamadah Purnamidam. That is infinite, this is infinite. And Shankaracharya explains that there. In his commentary, in the Bhashya, he gives a long commentary, an explanation, and some debates regarding this mantra. So, let us dive deep into it. It's so profound. It covers all of Vedanta. It covers, in fact, all of spirituality itself. Purnamadah Purnamidam. That is infinite. This is infinite. Here, that refers to God, Saguna Brahmana, Ishvara, Bhagavan. And that is Purnam. And this is Purnam. This refers to this world, ourselves. Purnam, the word itself, we'll dwell a little bit on the word itself and then dive into the mantra. It comes 7 times in this mantra, Purnam. In Indian languages, we all know the meaning of Purnam. It means whole or complete or full. And here it has profound meanings here. There are a number of words in Vedanta which encapsulate the entirety of Vedanta. Vedanta, with its vast literature, is remarkably easy to encapsulate, to express very elegantly in a very short form. So one Vedanta teacher told me that the skill of the teacher lies in putting the ocean into a drop and expanding the drop into an ocean. In Sanskrit, Sindhu and Bindu. Sindhu means the ocean, Bindu, a drop. So the entire Sindhu goes into the Bindu, into a drop. Can you express the entire ocean of Vedanta in a drop? All of it. Yes, Shankaracharya says in half a verse, Brahma Satya Jagat Mithya Jiva Brahmaiva Napara. Brahman is real, the world is an appearance, and you are none other than Brahman, the ultimate reality. That's Vedanta. You can make it even shorter. Tat Tvamasi, you are that. That's Vedanta. All those texts can be put into this one short sentence. Aham Brahmasmi, I am Brahman. Again, one short sentence. That's also from this Upanishad, by the way, the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. I am Brahman. Or Prajnanam Brahma, consciousness is Brahman. Or I am Atma Brahma, this very self is Brahman. The so-called Mahavakyas. In a single short sentence. You can make it even shorter into one word. Purnam, Brahma, Anantam. Purnam, and etymologically, there's a very interesting study. Etymologically, see what the root meanings, grammatically, what are the root meanings of these words? Purnam comes from pur, to expand, to swallow up everything, to fill up everything. That which fills up, expands to fill up everything. And amazingly enough, Brahman, the word Brahman, the ultimate reality, it comes from the root brih. Brih means to swell, to expand. Same meaning. So from that, Brahman has come. And it's very interesting that I was in our Ramakrishna Mission College in Narendrapur in Calcutta just a few months back. And they took me to their mathematics department. They have a gallery called the Zero Gallery. So the mathematics department has set up a multimedia display of how zero came to be invented. Zero was invented in ancient India. So zero in the ancient cultures, in the Mayan culture, in the Babylonian culture, and finally the form which we don't now understand as zero, the concept of zero in ancient India. So the panels were there, and we were being taken around showing the history of zero. And inevitably, the Sanskrit word comes up, shunya. There's a panel on how the philosophical import significance of the word shunya. Shunya means zero. But of course, it has a profound philosophical meaning in Mahayana Buddhism, in Nagarjuna's Mula Madhyamaka Karika, the root verses of the middle way, the school of emptiness, Shunyavada. Now there, something that I knew but had never struck me. There's an etymology of the word Shunya was given. Shunya means zero. And the etymology comes from sui in Sanskrit, sui. And it says the root meaning of sui is to swell. Even shunya, emptiness, has the same meaning as Purnam, has the same meaning as Brahman. I'll leave it there, but it's a very interesting study. Just by the way, of those who are interested and those who know Hindi, Swami Pranab Chaitanya Puri, who came here and gave a talk, he has come twice and given talks here. In his ashram in Rishikesh, a few years back, he conducted a retreat, 8 classes on this one mantra. We're going to talk about it in just about 1 hour here. And each of those classes were for about 1.5 hours, and 8 classes on this Purnamadah Purnamidam. But you have to know Hindi to understand that. It's all available on YouTube. You can see that. And there are other words also. Anantam, which has the same meaning. Anantam means limitless. Anta, limit. Things are limited in space. So everything is limited in space here. And that which is not limited in space would be everywhere. There would be no space where it is not. So it's all pervading. Things are limited in time. Everything has a beginning and end. Every life has a beginning and end. Everything is created and destroyed. Everything arises and subsides. But that is a limitation in time. But suppose something is not limited in time, anantam, then it would be eternal. There would be no time when it did not exist. There would be not it would have no origin, creation. It would have no destruction, no production, no destruction. It would always be there. There's something called object limitation, which means every object is itself and separate from everything else. So the microphone is a microphone, but it's not a podium. The podium is a podium, but it's not a clock. And the microphone is neither a podium nor a clock. This microphone, in fact, is distinct from every other object in the world. It's even distinct from that microphone, right? So every object is identical to itself and different from everything else. It's just the law of identity. A means A. It's different from everything that is not A. This is called object limitation in Vedanta. And it's seen as a limitation. Why is it a limitation? I mean, this is the way this is used is identity. It's the law of identity. But why is it a limitation? This is how Vedanta views things. It's a limitation because it's a kind of poverty. This poor microphone is only this poor microphone. It's separated from everything in the universe. It's not anything else. It can't be anything else. It just has to be itself. It's a kind of poverty. And if you remove the object limitation, then what happens is something that does not have an object limitation, no object in the universe would be different from it. Everything would be one with it. Everything would be one with it. Can't resist. There's an awful joke about this Buddhist monk who comes to, it could be a Vedantic monk also, who comes to New York and goes to a pizza shop. And the pizza shop, they show them all the toppings. Here's the pizza, but you can have all these toppings. And the Buddhist monk said, of course, make me one with everything. And then he paid for his pizza, but the shopkeeper did not return the change. And the monk said, where's my change? Give me my change. And the shopkeeper said, change comes from within. Okay. And this is actually there on YouTube. A reporter told this joke to the Dalai Lama. You can see the interview. The reporter tells a joke to the Dalai Lama, and it was a very bad idea because then it has to be translated into Tibetan, and the whole thing is lost. So he tells this joke. There's a joke, a monk goes to the pizza shop and says, "Make me one with everything." And somebody translates to Dalai Lama. He looks a little puzzled, and he says, "It is theoretically possible." And the reporter said, "I knew it wouldn't work. Forget it." Make me one with everything. So no object limitation means that entity is one with everything. Now anantam, the word anantam is so profound. It means that there is a reality which has no space limitation, no time limitation, no object limitation. That means it is everywhere. There's no space where it is not. And that does not just mean physical space. It could be mathematical spaces, could be fictional spaces. There's no space without it. In fact, it's just a way of saying space is an appearance in it. Any kind of space. There is no time when it is not. And most amazingly, there is no object which is or anything or anybody different from it. This is the meaning of anantam. That also, the whole of Vedanta is in that word. And recently I was looking at the word Vishnu, which is the word for God, Ishvara, Bhagavan. And in Shankara's commentary to the Vishnu Sahasranama, there it is said Vishnu means that which has no limitation in time, space, and object. It's literally the same meaning. So look at these words: Purnam, Brahman, Anantam, Vishnu, even maybe Shunyam. This will raise hackles everywhere. The Buddhists will be upset, the Vedantins will be upset. In fact, that Swamiji whom I mentioned, once I gave a talk on Shunyam, on emptiness, and he said to me, are you going to make Shunyam into Purnam? Are you going to equate Purnam and Shunyam? That doesn't carry as much punch as it does in Bengali. He said in Bengali, আপনি কি শূন্য আর পূর্ণ এক করে দেবেন? Will you make them one? So all of these words, entirety of Vedanta, the ocean can be poured into a drop. You can make it even smaller, just Om. The entirety of Vedanta is there. And you expand Om, it becomes Purnam, Brahman, Anantam, Vishnu. Expand that further, it becomes Tattvamasi, you are that. Expand that further, it becomes Brahma Satyam, Jagat Mithya, Jiva Brahmaiva Napara. Brahman is real, the world is an appearance, the sentient being is none other than Brahman. Expand that further, it becomes your Mandukya Upanishad, the smallest of the Upanishad. Expand that further, it becomes the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad and other Upanishads. Expand that further, it becomes the enormous literature of Vedanta through the centuries and millennia. So the ocean in a drop in an ocean. This word Purnam is very profound. Now, it says that is Purnam and this is Purnam. In Sanskrit and in Vedanta, the two words that and this in Sanskrit, tat and idam, this. Or Purnamadah, adah means that which is not proximate, that which is distant. And idam, Purnam idam means this. So that is Purnam, this is Purnam. Now, this kind of language may inadvertently create an illusion that is Purnam and this is Purnam. So there are two Purnams. There's a Purnam there and there's a Purnam here. No. What it means is Purnam. There's only one Purnam. After all, if it's infinite, if it has no object limitation, there can be only one of them because nothing can be separate from it. If there are two Purnams, what will happen? They limit each other. That's why in Vedanta, another interesting thing, the word infinity can also create confusion. In mathematics, you can have multiple infinities. Mathematicians here. You can have multiple infinities. In Vedanta, you cannot have multiple infinities. Why can you not have multiple infinities? Because of this object limitation. If you have multiple infinities and two infinities are different from each other, then they exclude each other. And therefore, from a Vedantic perspective, they are not really infinity because there's an object limitation. There is something which it is not. If A is infinite and there's something other than A, there is a B which is other than A, then A is not really infinite because it is not B. It has an object limitation. A is A but not B. B is B but not A. Then they are not really infinite in that sense. In that sense, there can be only one infinite. So this Purnam is that infinite. And that infinite is that and this. Is God and this manifested world and sentient beings. Then we have the triangle of Jiva, Jagat, Ishvara. Jiva, sentient beings like us. Jagat, this world, universe. And Ishvara, the God of religion, the one power behind everything. This is a triangle. And what this mantra is telling us, that Purnam is all three. That God, the God of religion, Ishvara, Bhagavan, Saguna Brahman, whatever you call it, Vishnu, whatever you call it, and Jiva Jagat, sentient beings in this world. That and this. There's one Purnam. Even the language proximate and distant can create this confusion. Usually we say this person and that person, this building and that park. So, creating the idea of a closeness and distance. But in when you come to Ishvara or Bhagavan, there is no such distance because Bhagavan is right here, supposed to be all pervading. So it's everywhere. This, when I say this, I mean this world and us. But then in one sense, God is also this because it's right here. Except that the difference, then why do we call it that? Because it's not proximate to our senses. We can't see it, hear it, God. We can't see it, hear it, smell it, taste it, touch it. Even our language or thought does not grasp it. So because of its subtlety, it's called that. And because of its presentation, that perceptibility, this is called this, idam, that, ada. But both are right here, and both are said to be Purna. Sri Ramakrishna, to understand this very well, how is it that God is Purnam and this is Purnam? Look at Sri Ramakrishna's spiritual practice. His quest, Kali, he's a priest of Kali in the Dakshineshwar temple on the bank of the Ganga. And his quest is this real? Does God really exist? Can I experience God? Or is it just an image and it's based on faith and we are worshipping it because of dead tradition? And so he prays, he worships with an unmatched intensity. What intense, amazing, stunning focus. Day after day, week after week, year after year, the first 12 years of his sadhana, possessed by a kind of madness that I have to experience this. We have descriptions, the most vivid descriptions, of course, at the end of the day, how he would throw himself on the bank of the Ganga, rub his face on the ground till it bled. That one more day is gone, O mother, and I still have not seen you. You have revealed yourself to Ram Prasad and other great Kali devotees. Why can I not see you? So this intensity, until he had the vision of Kali. What he wanted, he had the direct vision of God, that which enabled him to say afterwards to Narendranath Datta, who came to look for him, who came and asked him the question, Sir, have you seen God? He said, yes. That's why he was able to say with that tremendous conviction, yes, as I see you, but much more intensely. So he had that intense, direct experience. No longer is it that, adaha. But it's not even idam. It's not this either. It's something more intense than Ada and Idam. He had found the Purnam as Kali, expressed as Kali, manifested as Kali. And he didn't stop there. He went on to other experiences, other traditions of experiencing God. As Shiva, the 12 Shiva temples in the Dakshineshwar temple, as in the Vaishnava tradition, as Krishna and Radha, as Ramachandra, the little child, the monk, wandering monk who came with the Ram Lala child, and all the story. As that, everywhere he found the same divinity, but in amazingly different names and forms. All divine names and forms, all extraordinary. But he did not say, so Kali, done that, I've seen Kali. Now I have to see Shiva. Now I have to see Rama. Now I have to see Krishna. No, in each case he found it is the same thing. Purnam. That is Purnam, this is Purnam. He has found the Purnam. Now in the various expressions of the Purnam also, in the various ways in which it is understood and worshipped and experienced in Hinduism, he found the same Purnam. And beyond, in the Vaheguru of the Sikhs who is to come to him, in his Islamic quest, he found in the practicing as a Muslim, putting out all the Hindu gods and goddess, living as a devout Muslim, focused only in the Islamic way. He had the same experience of Purnam. In a Christian way, he had a vision of Christ and the same experience of Purnam. He said, Jato mat tato pat. In as many faiths, so many ways to experience that one divinity. Purnam. This is another aspect of Purnam. Not just in our own religion or my own tradition, in other traditions also. And in other religions also, beyond our own religion. And finding the same thing. It is a harmony of religion based not on doctrine, not on argumentation, not on feelings of brotherhood or sisterhood or feelings. Those are all nice, but they're all rhetorical. They're all, they can be challenged. But here he says based on the most incontrovertible spiritual experience, experiential, the oneness of all religion, finding the same Purnam everywhere, but in tremendously different varieties of expressions, not in a sameness. Same ultimate reality, but it is so capacious it can be expressed in all these ways. Now, that is one more meaning of Purnam. A little detour here. If you think God is without form, God cannot have form, then your understanding of your religion is not Purnam. God can have form, God can be without form. So someone comes to Sri Ramakrishna and asks, how is it possible? And Sri Ramakrishna says, look, the same water, it freezes into icebergs of extraordinarily different shapes. And when the sun rises, it melts again. So he knew about global warming at that time. When the sun rises, it melts back into the same water. As water, it is indistinguishable. But when it freezes, each iceberg is distinct. What an amazing example. And it's the same reality, the same Purna, which appears in multiple forms, multiple conceptions, multiple philosophies, multiple theologies, multiple religious traditions. So it can be with form, it can be without form. And the form in which you worship God, so it has to be male only. If you think it's only male and cannot be female, then your understanding of religion, spirituality is not Purnam. It can be male, it can be female. In Hinduism, Sri Ramakrishna. For Sri Ramakrishna, God was always mother because he worshipped God as Kali. And it can be with non-human forms also, as Ganesha, and it can be like elemental forms. God can be worshipped in the fire, God can be worshipped as space. Chidambaram, Shiva is worshipped as space. There's a place I come from, there's a sect, very Vedantic sect of monks. They're called Alek Niranjan in Orissa. So at one time they were very opposed to the worship of Jagannath in the temple because for them God has no form. And they have a song, Nahi Rupa Rekha Sunya Mandire Bihara in Oriya. It means since you don't have any outline or form, then the fit temple for you is emptiness. In the temple of emptiness, shine thou, the formless one. So that's the. So it can be with form, it can be without form. It can be in a male form, in a female form, in a transgender form, Ardhanarishvara, in a non-human form, in non-living in elemental forms of sky or fire or the five elements and so on. It can be in different names. Shiva, Vishnu, Kali, Ganesha, Kartika, in so many names. Why should it be only one name? In all these ways, the divine, because Purnam is all encompassing. Therefore, it is so capacious, it can be approached in all these ways. And not that it has to be approached in all ways. It's impossible to exhaust the infinitude of the infinite. Any one of them is also good enough for us. Sri Ramakrishna gave the example of the mountain of sugar. So a little ant comes looking for sugar, comes to a mountain of sugar. He's stunned, wow! And crawls up to it and grabs one little grain and with great difficulty drags it back to its little home and looks back and says, I'm going to come back for the rest of it. Of course it won't. That little grain is enough for that little ant. And so it is with us. Understanding the infinitude of it, the Purnam nature of the infinite, and any one aspect of it will do for us. What is given to me in my own tradition, that's more than enough for us. Because we are touching the same reality. It doesn't have to be that in that particular way only. This doctrine of the Purnam explains that. So when Sri Ramakrishna experienced all of it, and the Purnam as Purnam, leaving behind all names, all forms, all doctrines, in Nirvikalpa Samadhi, when Totapuri showed him, after that he would say, stop, because he has experienced it. What he was looking for, his quest, complete, 12 years. No. Now a new quest, a new madness took over. He looked back upon what he had left behind, because these 12 years he had forgotten the world. He had forgotten human beings. Now he looked back upon human beings, living beings, and the world. And what did he discover? Purnamidam. That which he found by climbing up to the roof of the house, leaving behind the ground floor and the first floor and the staircase, roof of the house. He found the roof was made of concrete and brick dust and lime. He said, these are his own words. Now you look back upon the house, what you have left behind, you find the whole house is made of the same thing. Now starts what is called Manush Lila, Manav Lila, the play of the divine in the human form. From his perspective, he has not changed. It is not that he was in the quest of the Purnam, now he's found it, now he's looking back upon the Apurnam, the not full or the limited. No, no, no. He's discovering a new dimension of the Purnam. That which was Purnam as that, accessible only transcendentally in samadhi, in bhava, in spiritual experience, ecstasies, which he would have often. But that which is accessible directly also through our eyes and ears, the people we live with, this body, all of this, the same Purnam has appeared as this. Purnam is that, Purnam is this, Purnam is that, Purnam is this. What a grand unified view, huh? Grand unified theory, gut. So, this is the deep meaning of Purnamadah Purnamidam. This is, of course, a living experience of Sri Ramakrishna. But now let's put it in the language of Vedanta. In the language of Vedanta, we are, what are we? Idam, let us just take ourselves. Idam means ourselves. Now let's just take ourselves. And that as God. Now in Vedanta, they point out that these two words, that and this, tat, that, and I, aham, they are very different. The first observation is, what is the first difference? The first difference is, I am directly experienced by myself. I know, I can feel myself. There's one thing that I cannot doubt, like Descartes, that I exist. My own existence is self-evident. It's the first thing which is evident to me. Everything else comes afterwards. But I am. So I am directly available to myself. This is called in Sanskrit aparoksha, directness. Non-immediate. So directly available to myself. And that, which we call God, is not directly available to myself. It's called paroksha. It's not even available to my senses. I do not directly feel the existence of that. I cannot even see the existence. I can see a picture, but I can't see directly the existence of. That's why Sri Ramakrishna had to do so much sadhana. If it was seeable, then so he was not satisfied with the image of Kali. He wanted a direct experience of Kali. So that is beyond the range of my experience. That is called paroksha. And see, these two are so contrary. Idam, this, I am directly available to myself. Let's see the difference between these two. And that, the God of religion, is indirect, is distant, is available only on belief. On, I'm told that it exists. I read about it. I'm told by the teachers it exists, masters. So there's a direct contrast. And there are many other contrasts also. That, we are told, is omniscient, omnipotent, omnipresent, omnis, all-knowing, all-powerful, present everywhere. I, on the other hand, I am only this, present only here. If I'm here, I can't be there. And I'm not all-powerful. I'm in fact very weak. I'm utterly dependent on this world for food, for air, for, if you leave the heating here and go outside, it'll freeze. I'm utterly dependent on other beings. We are so weak as human beings, even as entire human society. We are so weak. One COVID virus. So, yes, that is all powerful. I or we are not at all powerful compared to that. And that is all knowing. Our knowledge is very limited. Sarvagya alpagya in Sanskrit. That is all knowing. We are very limited knowledge. Now, if you say, what does this mantra say? That is Purnam and this is also Purnam. You are Purnam and that God is also Purnam. In fact, Purnam is that God and Purnam is you. There's one thing only, which is Purnam, and it is that God and it is you. How so? And so starts in Vedanta the quest, because it does not make sense. The two are utterly different. I am aparoksha, direct. God is paroksha, distant. I have very little knowledge. God is all-knowing. Suppose God exists. My own existence is certain. God's existence is based on faith. I don't know directly. So the contrasts are so much. Then how is it that the mantra is saying you are one? Purnam. Then the quest starts. What are we actually? And to jump ahead, all of Vedanta, I'm going to put in a you have all studied all this. One sentence. The understanding of the sentient being, understanding of ourselves in Vedanta is um, Ajnana Upahita Chaitanya. Consciousness in association with ignorance, mind, body. Causal body, subtle body, physical body. Physical body, this. Subtle body, our minds, our personalities, thoughts, ideas, memories, the sense of ego. And there's something called the primal ignorance, which is called the causal body. Not casual wear. We have an outer wear, a casual wear, inner wear. So a bit like that. But causal, this is the causal body. And they're like wear, they're like clothes. We have put on 3 layers of clothing: the causal or casual or causal layer, and then the subtle layer, and then the physical layer. This is the physical layer. But what are we other than this? So it's like this actor on Broadway who plays two roles. He plays the role of an emperor and the role of a beggar. So when he plays the role of an emperor, he puts on these gorgeous clothes and comes and speaks grandly in royal terms. And when he goes and change to the green room and changes and puts on the rags of a beggar and a homeless guy and comes and speaks the dialogue of a homeless guy. And yet the homeless guy is the emperor. The emperor is the homeless guy. How? Because the emperor at its core is not the emperor. The homeless guy is also not a homeless guy. Both are really one actor acting in two roles. That's a good example. There is one Purnam which dressed up in causal body, subtle body, and physical body is each one of us. It appears as many, as millions and billions of sentient beings. Physical bodies keep changing. They die, and you put on a new physical body. And that same Purnam, dressed up in the robe, the royal robe, the emperor's cloth of Maya, is called Ishvara, Bhagavan, Saguna Brahman, Kali, Shiva, Narayana, Vishnu, the god of religion. And if we look into ourselves, that will come later. Discovering the Purnam in this, Purnasya Purnamadaya, Purnam alone will remain. So that will come later. How do we discover this? But the Vedantic position is, it is one limitless consciousness, putting on various causal bodies, subtle bodies, and physical bodies, which appears as billions of sentient beings, and acts in accordance with the limitations of those bodies when it deals with the world. And because of the primal causal body has forgotten its nature as Purnam. Also, the same Purnam puts on the royal robes of Maya. In Vedantic terms, Maya Adhisha, the Lord of Maya, and has the power of God, omniscience, omnipotence, omnipresence, all loving, all powerful, and so on and so forth. That is Purnam Adah. Purnam becomes God, Adah, that. And Purnam becomes us, Purnam Idam. And what does Vedanta say? That and you are both the same. Tat Tvam Asi. How? Tat is Purnam, Tvam is Purnam. It's the same Purnam which comes as you, it's the same Purnam which comes as God. Which is the same Purnam available directly to each one of us as I, me, myself. Aparoksha. The same Purnam which is not directly available to us is taken on faith until you have experience of it as Adaha, that God. So, this Purnamada, my whole point here is Purnamadah Purnamidam is the Mahavakya, Tattvamasi. That is Purnam, this is Purnam. In Vedantic terms, Advaitic terms, it's equivalent to Tat Tvamasi. Tat is Purnam, Tvam is Purnam. Therefore, Tat and Tvam are the same. That thou art. What is that? Purnam. What is thou? You? Purnam. Really, if you knew yourself. And therefore, that and thou are the same. You are that, Tattvamasi. You are Purnam. That is Purnam. Therefore, you are that. Though it doesn't look like it. What if you see what it looks like, then it does not seem to be same at all. I am a jiva. We are many jivas. God is one. I am directly available to myself. God is distant. It's not available directly. I am very limited, powerless, with little knowledge. God is all knowing, all powerful. Such huge difference. And yet it becomes identical. So this, I was just thinking about it. Purnamadah Purnamidam. What a profound. The more you meditate upon it, you discover what's going on there. Purnamadah Purnamidam, the first quarter of this mantra is identity, the grand identity of Vedanta. Tattvamasi, you are that. Aham Brahmasmi, I am Purnam. Brahman, Saguna Brahman is Purnam. So that same Purnam comes as Saguna Brahman as Jiva. This is identity. I was just thinking, the Purnamadah Purnamidam is identity. And the next one, Purnat Purnamudachyate, is causality. We'll go into that now. Is causality. And the last part of it, Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate, is spirituality. And this rhyming. Identity, causality, spirituality. But broadly speaking, the first part of it, Purnamada Purnamidam, which we just discussed just now, that is philosophy. And here I mean Vedanta philosophy. The next part which is coming, Purnat Purnamudachyate, from that infinite, this infinite has come. This is religion. We're going to get into that now. And the third part of it, Purnasya Purnamadaya, that is spirituality. So you have philosophy, religion, and spirituality. You can think of it that way also. There's also, well, we'll talk about that a little later. Now let's go into the second quarter of it. We just finished 4 quarters. We just finished the first quarter. The first quarter is actually the identity, the philosophy of it, that you are that. The second quarter is the religious aspect of it, the causality. And the third quarter is the practice, the method, Purnasya Purnamadaya. What do we have to do? And the fourth quarter is the result, Phala. And the infinite alone exists, result. So 4 quarters of the verse, that is infinite and this is infinite. There is philosophy, identity. The second quarter is from that infinite, this infinite has come. That is religion. And that is causality. The third quarter is practice, spiritual practice, the method to recognize the infinity in this infinity. And the last quarter is infinite alone remains. That is the result of spiritual practice, result of this whole quest. What will you get at the end of this project? So now we get into, from that infinite, this infinite has come. What is the relationship? Yes, I know it is Purnam. Fine, you have told me. But you have also said that and this. Now that begs the question, what is the relationship between that and this? What is the relationship between God and sentient beings in the universe? And here is the common answer of all religions which believe in God. There are religions which do not believe in God. Jainism, Buddhism, in Hinduism, Sankhya is there. Even in a sense, Purva Mimamsa does not talk about God. But those religions which do believe in God, most of Hinduism, Vedanta also, and Christianity and Islam and Zoroastrianism and Sikhism, all of these religions, they believe in God. And the God-centric religions, they have one common definition of God, one place where they agree. God is the creator. Put in philosophical language, God is the cause, and what's the effect? This world. God is the source, and what comes from that source? This world, the universe. The basic idea of God in all theistic religions, God is the creator of this universe. Or in Vedanta, God is the creator, preserver, and destroyer. Srishti, Sthiti, Pralaya. God is that. In Taittiriya Upanishad, you find Brahma Sutras, you find this description of Brahman. Janmadhyasya yataha, from which creation, etc. proceed. Asya jagata janmasthiti bhanga yasmat tad brahma. What is Brahman? Definition. This world from which it originates, in which it exists, into which it dissolves finally. And again, originates again. There's a cycle going on. From the unmanifest to the manifest, from the manifest back to the unmanifest. It's like there's a heap of clay, a mound of clay. And then you see someone makes a clay pot out of it. And then you break the clay pot, sometimes broken, and goes back to clay. So the source, the material, cause is clay. Effect is the pot. Now, what's the relation between the two? Originally, it was the cause, the clay. When the effect emerged, where did it emerge from? From the clay only. Emerge means somebody gave it a shape and called it a pot. The potter made it. That's called production or emergence. And where did it come from? From the clay. Even when it exists, where does it exist? In the clay. We normally will say our usual, the way we use language is clay is there in the pot, but actually the pot is in clay. It's not that there is water in the wave. The wave is in the water. If you look at the ocean, don't say that each wave has its own supply of water. Rather, water is appearing as the waves. So, in that sense, the cause, the material, cause here I mean the material cause is appearing as the pot. And when it's broken, what remains? Same clay. Although there's a difference. If the pot has been fired, I mean, this is not relevant to Vedanta, but if the pot has been burnt already, if you break it, it will not go back to a lump of clay. It will be clay. It will be broken pieces of pottery. That's very long lasting. When you go to an ancient archaeological excavation site, what's the first thing they find? Pottery. We all read it in history. Every ancient civilization, they seems to find pottery. That's what they found in across the world. We used to read in this kind of pot or that kind of pot was discovered because that's what lasted. We had a railways minister in India who knew that we as Indians have the tendency we would buy little cups of tea and then casually toss the teacup out of the window in the train, and all train lines are littered with teacups. So this minister had a brilliant idea. How about making, in India there is the clay cups pot, and so he said that's friendly to the environment and it won't litter, so it'll go back to clay. So let's replace all these paper cups and plastic cups with the clay cups, matka we call it, and that's what was done. Unfortunately, what this minister had forgotten was that clay doesn't go back to. If you throw a clay pot outside the train window, it'll shatter into potsherds. Still, it's much better than plastic or paper. It's still it's not harmful in that sense. So the material cause appears as the effect. God is the material cause, and the universe is the effect. All these religions believed in it. And Vedanta had a very sophisticated theory of how it comes. In Vedanta, abhinna nimitta upadana karana. Brahman, God of religion, Saguna Brahman in Vedanta, is the undivided material and instrumental cause of the universe. The intelligence behind this universe and the material out of which this universe is made is Brahman. So the intelligence behind this universe is God, and God's power of Maya is the material out of which this world is made. And there's further analysis in Vedanta. Maya is the Parinami Upadana Karana, and Brahman is the Vivatta Upadana Karana. What does all that mean? I mean, we won't go into it. It just means Maya is transformed into this world. The three gunas are transformed into this world, much like milk is transformed into curd or yogurt, or a seed blossoms into the tree. But Brahman is presented as this world, much as the rope appears to be the snake. Brahman is not actually transformed into the world. Existence, consciousness, bliss appears in the form of this. Why does it appear? Because of Maya. What is all this transformation? It is Maya itself. So that's the general idea. But all of this is expressed as Purnat Purnam Mudachyate. From the infinite, from the Purnam, this Purnam has arisen. From Brahman and Maya, which is the undivided material and intelligent cause of the universe, the entire universe is. This whole thing is all of religious theories of creation are included here. Multiple theories are possible, and also science. I remember a lecture by Professor J.N. Mahanti in the Institute of Culture decades ago. He said something that should be obvious, but we don't think about it that way. He says, is this not science? When the earliest of human beings asked, from whence has all this come? We see a great tree coming out of a little seed. So what is the seed from which the universe has come? What is the source of this universe? And Professor Mohanty said, in science, in cosmology, are we not asking the same question? So the religious theories of the cosmos, the religious cosmology was an early attempt. Now we have much more precise, much more powerful answers to this question. It's still a mystery, it's still not solved, but we have more detailed mathematical, scientific answers to this question. However, along the way, a huge split has happened. You can't paper over that split. On the way to scientific development, what has happened from that source, this has come. That nobody doubts. Even a scientist will not doubt, because scientist is looking for that source. From whence has all this come? However, because of Darwin and because of the process of the power of modern science, what has happened is we no longer say that there is an intelligence or a consciousness or some great God behind all this. Material nature is its own explanation. That's what we think right now, because from simple elements a complexity can emerge. Life, the evolution of life, for example. So evolution seems to suggest you don't need a God. Who was it, Laplace, or who said, I don't need that hypothesis? The king asked the French scientist, in all this what you're doing, you have not talked about God. And the scientist replied, Your Highness, I don't need that hypothesis. So that's science's answer to God as the source of religion. Says God is the source of the universe. Science says we don't need that hypothesis. I can show that the universe is a material universe, space, time, energy, matter, and is born of a material source. More or less, that's what they're trying. It's still, scientists would say it's not an open question. We don't have all the details yet. But more or less, when we do find all the details and complete it, it will be a material explanation. How do you reconcile these two? I won't attempt to, because one would say, one seems to be the repudiation of the other. Yes, both say from that this has come. But what is the nature of that? The scientist says that need not be God. That can be just matter. It can be, in fact, even simpler matter than what we see here. It can be extraordinarily subtle forms, superstrings or something from which this universe has come. That's certainly not God. So we don't need God to explain any of this. So matter is the source of matter. Spirit is the source of matter. What is the answer to that? How do you reconcile these two? I will not go into it, but just one thing I'll just leave you with. Sir Roger Penrose, he says, I'm uncomfortable being called a materialist because I don't know what matter is. So here is the leading cosmologist of our time. He got the Nobel, I think, 2 years back. And he says, after a lifetime of investigating physics at the tiniest level and at the cosmic level, what exactly is matter? That's mysterious. Professor Galen Strawson wrote a piece in the New York Times, The Hard Problem of Matter. He says, consciousness is not a mystery. We are conscious. And the universe is presented to us in consciousness as matter. What is matter? That which is presented to you in consciousness. It's a very Vedantic definition of matter. Jada and Chetana. Jada is that which appears in consciousness. And he says, the real mystery is what is it that we are experiencing? I am aware and I'm experiencing. But what is it that I'm experiencing? This world, these bodies, even these thoughts, what are they? He says the hard problem is hard problem of matter. And then he says, as we investigate, physics investigates matter, it is disappearing before our eyes. It's becoming even more mysterious. Is it possible then that which is experiencing matter, that and matter, are both appearances of some underlying one reality? Vivekananda says, one alone exists. It appears as nature and soul. Vivekananda says, one alone exists. There is one reality which exists, appears as subject and object. Object, material universe, nature. Soul, the subject, the experiencing entity, the conscious entity. The conscious experiencer and the experienced object, both are emanations or appearances of one underlying reality. And that is what this mantra says. Purnat Purnamudachyate. From the Purna, this has come. But it is still Purna. From the clay, the pot has come. The heap of clay was clay. The pot is clay. And one day the pot will subside back into the clay. Coming out of the clay as a pot, taking the shape of a pot, is called creation. Existing as a pot is called existence, sthiti, preservation. And then breaking of the pot, becoming clay, insofar as it can become clay. That is called destruction. So the source and the existence and the ultimate destiny of all the effects is the cause. And both are the same clay. The same Purnam, the same being, that limitless existence, consciousness, bliss, Satchidananda, is the source of this universe from which the universe has arisen. What are existing things from Vedantic perspective? What are existing things? They are nothing other than existence, just as pot and clay. What is pot? Nothing other than clay. Nothing other than clay means its very existence is the existence of the clay. Similarly, all existing things at their ground is one existence of Sat, being. Vedanta says, take existence seriously. We take existing things seriously. Existence, we think it's an abstraction, something for philosophers to play with. So, tables and chairs and people, that is serious. But existing things, existence itself, it's like saying golden ornaments are serious. Gold is not a serious thing. But gold is the very reality of all those golden ornaments, similarly. So, science and religion, they are cousins with the same quest. Where did all this come from? Now look at Purnamadah Purnamidam, the first one, and the second one, Purnat Purnamudachyate. If you look deeper, that is called the Swarupa Lakshana of Brahman. This is called Tatastha Lakshana of Brahman in Sanskrit. What does that mean? That one shows you what Brahman really is. If God and the Jiva, Tat and Tvam, are the same reality, what is that same reality? Satchidananda, the existence, consciousness, place. That is called the actual definition, the essential definition of Brahman. It is being, consciousness, place. But here Brahman is being defined in another way, that from which this world has arisen, in which that world exists, into which that world will disappear. That is Brahman. So this is called the incidental or secondary definition, Tatastha Lakshana of Brahman. What's the difference between the two? So this incidental definition is that suppose I want to point out the Vedanta society to you, and you stand at the corner and say, look down there where you see the that bird sitting there, that's the Vedanta society. Now the bird is not part of the Vedanta society. It can fly away. It has nothing to do with the Vedanta society building. It just happens to be sitting there at that moment, but it's good enough to point out the Vedanta society. It works. Because no other building has the bird sitting there. That bird sitting there. It's used to point out the Vedanta society. So the same way, the world appears to us. This Brahman, God, all of that seems abstract to us. But for everybody, the world appears to us. So what this definition of Brahman cleverly does is, so you see this world? Yes. That from which this world has come, in which this world exists, into which this world will finally disappear, that is Brahman. This world is like the bird which can fly away at any time. After you realize what Brahman is, you need not worry about the world anymore. For us, the world is all that is most important. No, from Vedanta's perspective, the world is as inconsequential as a bird sitting on a building. Once it has been pointed out, once we have grasped what is Brahman, then you are fine. Then you understand the world also, what it is. It's an emanation or appearance or a product means in the sense, emanation of manifestation of Brahman. So Brahman has been grasped. How did you grasp it? By using the world which is evident to us. These people, world, our lives, all of this, underlying it is one reality which is not immediately obvious to us. It becomes obvious to us if you answer the question, where did all this come from? In what does all this exist? Into what does all this disappear eventually? This is called the secondary or incidental definition of Brahman, Tatastha Lakshana. In Vedanta, you will find definitions of Brahman like Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma. Brahman is existence, consciousness, limitless. That is the Swarupa Lakshana, the essential definition of Brahman, the real definition of Brahman, as far as you can define it. And Brahman is the source of the universe, in which the universe exists, into which the universe disappears. Yato Vaimani Bhutani Jayanti, from which all these beings appear. That is the secondary definition of Brahman. And both have been given here, Purnamadah Purnamidam, the essential definition of Brahman, Satchidananda, Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma. And Purnat Purnamudachyate, from that infinite, this infinite has come. This is the secondary definition of Brahman. I'm unpacking. And what I'm sharing with you is very little actually. If you go to the series where um, Swami Pranab Chaitanya Puri has given, 8 lectures. You will find much more, okay, in much more detail of uh, the arguments for the existence of God in the religions against the materialist point. Those things are all there. Here is religion. If I am the effect and God is the cause, Purnat Purnamudachyate, we are all the effect and God is the cause, then we have a relationship with God. The relationship of the effect and the cause. That sounds very dry. No, that's where all devotion, bhakti, it comes from. The cause is all powerful. The effect is entirely under the dominion of the cause. The cause gives existence to the effect itself. Every power that is manifested in the effect existed potentially in the cause. And the effect is always one with the cause. The pot is always one with the clay. It can't be different from the clay. You're always one with God. In a devotional language, it is expressed as love, devotion. God is the master, I am the servant. God is my friend, or God is the father or mother, I am the child, or God is my child, or God is the beloved. Dasya bhava, sakhya bhava, vatsalya bhava, madhura bhava. So all these relationships, everything emerges from this. As we're just showing you how the seed is there. From that, this has come. That's all that was said. But now, very interesting. It's so subversive. From that, this has come. But that and this are both the same reality. It says that is Purnam and this is also Purnam. In fact, Purnam, if something has happened, seed, we give two different names. Seed, tree. Milk, yogurt. Puppy, dog. From that, this has come. The source and the product, we give two different names because something has really happened. There's a change. These are two different things. There is a real transformation. But look at what the mantra does. From that, this has come. But what does it say? That is Purnam, and the same Purnam is also this. That is Purnam, this is Purnam. From Purnam, which is that, this has come, which is Purnam. They are not two different Purnams, remember. It is same Purnam. Then what has happened? What's the difference between that and this? Nothing. After establishing causality, this has come from that. It subverts that causality, sabotages it, it makes it disappear by saying it is Purnam. Therefore, non-causality. It's a deep Advaitic truth. Non-causality. In fact, another way I was imagining this mantra, Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate. Purnamadah Purnamidam is Advaita, non-duality. Purnat Purnamudachyate is non-causality. On the face of it, it looks like causality. From that, this has come. But using the word Purnam to sabotage or subvert that causality, so actually it is pointing towards non-causality, from causality to non-causality. Purnamadah Purnamidam, from duality to non-duality. No duality, no causality. And the third part of it, Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Avashishyate, this I'd like to call, sort of force fit it, no mind. No duality, no causality, no mind. No mind refers to Gaudapadas, the Mandukya Karika. Amani Bhava. We go there now. Purnasya Purnamadaya. Now what do we do? Well, we are here. That might be Purnam, this might be Purnam. From that Purnam, this Purnam has come. All that is fine. But I don't see it. I don't experience it. We are in the position of Sri Ramakrishna says, is this all real? You put it in fancy philosophical terms. Yeah. Kali temple puts it in religious terms. There's Ma Kali and I'm the worshipper, the priest. But is it real? Can it be experienced? And the mantra says, Purnasya Purnamadaya. You can experience it. You the Jiva, sentient being. You are Purna. But you must discover your Purnatvam, your infinitude. How? That little wave, I've told the story, who is coming along on the stormy Atlantic coast. And it's playing with all its friends and other little waves. And then it has a nice little wave life. Some other waves are nice to it. It's my friends. Some other little waves are mean to it. And so they are my enemies. Some waves are so big. And he thinks, I'm a loser. I can't be that big. And there's other little waves which are much smaller than it, maybe a bubble or foam. So that what a loser, that little fellow. And thus its life goes on, a wave life. And as it grows, becomes older, and then it sees something in the distance crash, and something is happening, a lot of tumult in this. What's that? Oh, that's Long Island. What happens there? That's where all waves go to die. They're all crashing. The waves are crashing into Long Island and dying. Dying? That means, am I going to die? Yes. And my father and my mother wave, and my brother and sister waves, my friend waves. And the enemies I don't care so much about. But my friends, they're all going to die. Yes, they're going to die. This is terrible. No, this is life. And this is what happens. We all die. Oh no, and he's depressed. And then comes along a Vedantic wave. It says, it's true, waves die, but there is something which does not die, which is called water. What is that water? Well, that water is the source of all the waves. From that source called water, these waves have come. But that is, the source is also water, but this wave is also water. This wave says, well, that's good for the water, but what about me? I'm going to die. But you are water. I don't know. How am I water? Well, take a close look at yourself. If you say water is the source, you're the effect, then I'll worship water. But now it says, take a look at yourself. Purnasya Purnamadaya. Take a look at yourself. You will find deep inside yourself it's water. At the core of yourself, that which is just water. But also, when you open your eyes, look at the top, look at your sides, look at below, look in front. Brahma Purastad, Brahma Paschat, Brahma Dakshinata, Uttarascha. In Mundaka Upanishad, it says, Brahman is in front of you, Brahman is behind you, Brahman is to your sides, Brahman is above you, and Brahman is below you. And in fact, through and through, you are water. Oh, really? And that water does not die. When it crashes against Long Island, it will just lose the wave form. You will become millions of droplets of glorious foam and surf. Maybe you will be lifted up into the sky in the form of, I'm quoting Vivekananda, in the form of clouds, which will shower down in much needed rain on the earth and run as rivers back into the sea. You will always be water. Nothing can change that. Wow, this is great. That means I'm immortal. You're immortal. The changes in form don't affect you. You still remain as water. You can enjoy all the changes in form. Let this form go, another form will come. Effortlessly. Not only that, further, all those others, the waves, they are also water. Purnamidam, everything is water. And because of that, you and the other, there's no gap between you. As a wave, the other wave, there seems to be a boundary. I am this wave and that's the other wave. But if you're water, on this side is water, on that side is water, the so-called imagined boundary is also water. Suddenly, you become not only the water in this wave, not in the water in that wave, you become the ocean. You become every wave, every drop of water, all the foam and surf, every water, every bit of it is you. Because once you think of yourself as water, all the water in the world is you. Once you shift from body-mind to consciousness, to existence consciousness, to this presence, to this spirit, to this one light, and you discover yourself as this, you realize you are immortal. And not only that, the entirety of the world is one with you. You alone appear as this entire world. How do you do that? Of course, all of Vedanta is there for that. Drigdrishya Viveka, the method of the seer. How do I find that I am consciousness? That's the whole thing. How does the wave discover its water? I discover I am consciousness. Drigdrishya Viveka, the way of the seer and the seen. Panchakosha Viveka. Start with the body, the vital body, the mental body, the intellectual body, and beyond that, the causal body. And you discover you are the witness consciousness in which all of them are appearing and disappearing. Slowly, our attention is inwardized and taken step by step inside into our own experience. And then we realize what is at the core of experience, this one light. I am that. And then we look back, like Sri Ramakrishna going to the roof of the house and then looking back after having experience of that one light in different forms in different religions, then looking back at the world and finding the world is also that one light. And what the advantage of this world is not those extraordinary, rare spiritual experiences. Yes, Sri Ramakrishna had multiple samadhis throughout the day. But for most of the spiritual seekers, they may have it after a lot of effort, maybe once or twice in their lives. But what is always available, effortlessly available, open your eyes and see that one light, that one water manifested as all the other ways. But then it will be a huge change in our perspective. Little wave realizes I am immortal as water. But as water, I am all. And there is really no friend or foe. Samadrishti. All are the same to me because I alone appear in all those forms. They may think they are my friends. They may think they are my enemies. But as water, nobody is my enemy. Everybody is my own. They're literally nothing but me. How can I be my own enemy? Maybe appearing in that form and appearing in this form, they don't like me. Or that one likes me. But neither that liking nor that disliking really matters much for the enlightened one. They feel a deep spiritual oneness with everybody and everything. Likes and dislikes will fade away. The bondage of the world, samsara, it weakens. It's no longer as strong to hold you. Nothing will scare you anymore. See, this is the difference between purnatva and apurnatva. I'll end with this, the result. What happens after this? Purnam eva avashishyate. The infinite alone remains. It's the infinite appearing through names and forms, which appears as waves, as all this world of people and beings. Now, if you separate the infinite from the names and forms, if you separate the water from the waves, separate means in understand. You can't physically separate it. What will happen then? Will it be that the water will remain on this side and waves on the other side? The forms of the waves ghostly there on this side without any water, starved of water, waterless waves, and on this side all the water? No, the waves will disappear. The waves have no existence apart from the water. Similarly, the names and forms have no existence apart from this one light shining in all these ways. And you are that one light. You are not the light only in this body and mind. You are the light in all bodies and minds. It gives existence and light to everything in the universe. Existence, consciousness, and value, ananda, sat chit ananda. That's why the world is dear to the enlightened one. As Kali was dear to Sri Ramakrishna, so also when he turned around and said, Shiva Jnane Jiva Seva, seeing all the same Kali in the entire universe. So the whole universe is Kali for Sri Ramakrishna. With eyes closed Kali, with eyes open Kali. This is the result of it. Purnam eva avashishyate. And then look at the difference. As long as we are apurna, limited, I have fear. I can be sick. I can die. I can fail. I can be disliked, hated. Life is full of pitfalls. If you are Purnam, Abhayam vai praptovasi. You have attained fearlessness. O Emperor Janaka, his guru tells him, realizing you are the one reality, first thing is you have attained to fearlessness. Be fearless. Vivekananda says right now, even if you don't realize it, be fearless because that's your real nature. You really don't have anything to be afraid of. Yeah, the form of the wave may be lost when it crashes against Long Island, but as water you remain. It's an amazing ride. One sadhu said, how do you live your life? You're so joyful. He said, how do you live your life? I said, oh, in the morning when I open my eyes, I see my chappal, my sandals. They're walking out of the door. I jump on them and they take me around the life throughout the day. I go along for the ride. What a joyful way of living life and surrendered way of living life. You're surrendered to the Divine Mother because she will put so many shows up for you. Sometimes it's quite a thrill. No fear. Then another reaction to apurnatvam, limitedness, is when you're apurna, limited, not full, is desire. That thing which is other than me, I look upon it either with fear or with desire. Because either it will complete me, I want it, it's nice, or it will hurt me, I don't like it. The desire also disappears. Not because I don't have any desires anymore. No, aptakama. Aptakama means ever fulfilled. All desires fulfilled. It's not like suddenly desires have gone away, I'm sort of blank and depressed. I don't like anything. Not like that. I've got everything. Imagine the joy of getting something that you really wanted, that moment, of that delight. When I was a little kid, and quite unexpectedly, I topped an examination. I remember in those days, long before the internet, um, they used to, it's unthinkable nowadays, they would print out the results and put it on a notice board. And people would crowd around trying to find out their roll numbers. Just the roll number would be mentioned. So I remember I went going after this one big exam. We have big exams in India. So we were teenagers, all my friends, we went look for the what result. Do you have a first class or a second class, or you failed or flunked? So I looked and looked and looked. And people started finding their roll numbers. And I looked and looked. I couldn't find mine. And I thought maybe I flunked. Terrible. I didn't think I'd done so badly. Anyway, there was one list where hardly few people were there, just sort of casually looking at. These were the best of the best, the elite of the elite, the top 15 in those days. It's not a good system. It's sort of depressing for 100,000 others and great for literally there were like 200 or 300,000 students who took that exam. Then I sort of wandered over there, feeling quite a cold, sinking sensation in my heart, and I looked up at that list, and they were the top 15. And I went up the list trying to find out people if did I recognize anybody. And then at the top of the list was my name. I stared at it. I still remember. This was such a shock and such a thrill. It lasted for some time. We could call it Americans today call it a buzz. And everybody sort of stared at me, wow. And then I was interviewed by the press and stuff like that. So you got something you wanted well beyond what you expected. Now imagine that feeling multiplied and continuous, undiminishing, forever. You're deeply, deeply fulfilled, overflowing with joy and fulfillment. You are the infinite. And that is what our nature is. All the joy and pleasure we get in this world, Shankaracharya says, is like spray from that ocean of fulfillment which is already within you. Everything, even what I just mentioned, is he says it's just a drop from the ocean which is already there within you. So this joy is our birthright, and this is what we get. Apurna, limited. Purna, just unlimitless, overflowing joy. Vidyaranya Swami says, why are enlightened people so happy? He says, kritakrityataya, they have the sense they have done what was to be done in human life. Praptavya praptataya, they have the sense they have gotten what was to be got in human life. Krishna says, having gotten that, after which nothing greater remains to be gotten. Gyatavya gyatataya, they have this sense they have known that which has to be known in human life. They have known the secret of themselves and the universe. With this, the one source, this Brahman. That's why they are so fulfilled. So you're fulfilled. No more this running after limited desires and trying to going out with a begging bowl into the world, asking for a little bit of handout of happiness. No, you only give afterwards. Either such people become deeply silent, or they give. They're an endless source of blessings for others. Then, you overcome the sense of limitation. I am born, I shall die. No, I am immortal. I am only here, not there. No, I am everywhere and everything. So you have the sense of infinitude. Apurna, limited. Purna, sense of infinitude. Yeah, the one reality of this universe. And you live like this. And the amazing thing is, you come back into this body and mind, into this limited individuality. And you live from that perspective, as you did earlier. Nothing changes in the world outside. And that's this, in fact, that's the beauty of it. That's why Vedanta says that's already what exists right now. You don't have to change one little thing here. You realize it, and from that perspective, when you live a life of endless fulfillment, fearlessness, endless joy, and a deep sense of oneness with everything. Such a life usually will be a life of great service and blessings to others. Fulfill a blessing to yourself and a blessing to others. And you have run out of time. I pray to Sri Ramakrishna, Ma Sharada, Swami Vivekananda to bless us all, that we may appreciate and experience this purnatvam, this fullness, the spiritual fullness in our lives. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Tat Sat. Sri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu.